So hello and welcome to Lean In with Shiro, where we talk about life's curveballs with wisdom and humor. I am your host, Wanjiru Mwangi, a HR leader and a life coach. I am passionate about working with women and helping them see themselves confidently, step out boldly, and thrive in every aspect of their life. Today, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, and this is image and personal branding. So I've seen people lose on amazing opportunities because they didn't know how to position themselves, they didn't know how to show up. In this episode, we're going to do a deep dive with an image and brand consultant to find the link between your personal branding and your career progression. So welcome, Olive.
Thank you.
Please tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Olive Gachara, as you know. I'm an image and brand consultant at IWO Consultancy, where we offer individual consultations and corporate workshops on professional image, business etiquette, customer communication, as well as personal branding, and a bit of political branding as well. And then on the other side, I'm also the founder and CEO of Couture Africa Limited, which is a luxury media and events house. We publish Couture Africa magazine, of course, and do various events around the country.
Fantastic.
Yes.
We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And I am really keen to hear, what does personal branding or image affect how you show up at the workplace?
Those are two different questions, right? So there's personal branding and there's image.
See, that's why we need you.
So image is how you dress, right? Mm-hmm. How you dress, how you walk, how you talk, what people see, as the word suggests.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because of first impressions. And when people see you, based on how you're carrying yourself, based on how you're walking, how you're talking, and how you've put yourself together, people will start judging you, and they'll put you in a box and decide how to treat you before even they start talking to you. I know we always say don't judge a book by the cover, but unfortunately we live in a very superficial world, and people will judge a book by the cover before they open to find out more about the person. So it's very important to show up, or rather dress up and present yourself the way you want to be perceived, right? That's on the image side.
Yeah.
On personal branding, I think personal branding is important because your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So when people think about Shiro, they think about certain things, right? So that's what your personal brand is.
Yeah.
And it's something that's built over a long period of time. So we have to be intentional about what our personal brands are, or what our brand is, because then that's what people will assign to you before they even get to interact with you, right? And whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand. The girl shooting this has a personal brand. You who's watching has a personal brand. So it's just about being more intentional about what that brand is.
Interesting.
Yes.
You talked about image. And in today's workplace, we have smart casual. People are not very firm like it used to be nowadays when we started our careers on how people show up. So how is it affecting how people are showing up at the workplace? So for example, you're working in a tech company, in a tech firm or something like that, and it was smart casual. And people take that to the other extreme.
They really do. Yeah.
So does that then affect, one, how they're showing up and how they're viewed by people? And does that translate into affecting their brand?
So that's an open-ended question. It's a very big question. I think it depends. So first, how you dress, just on your own self-image. I'm very big about self-image and your own self-perception. Based on how you're dressed, it also determines your mindset, right? And I'm sure when you feel it, the days you're like really dressed up,
True.
you don't even want to come home immediately. Like, where are we going after work? Like today,
Who's calling me?
I know. And then that's the day there's no plan. Like, and then the days when you're feeling drab and whatnot, and you have a meeting, even your confidence levels in that meeting are not as high as they should be, right? So how you dress affects your self-image. In fact, fun fact, apparently, is it BBC radio? Remember the days when there was only BBC English radio? It used to require, and I don't know if this is true, but this is a story I heard. It used to require their news readers to dress in full suits.
Oh.
Even if they're not being seen, because when you're in a full suit, you sit up, you talk with a certain sense of authority and whatnot. So it's not just for the guys on TV. Even if you're just on the radio, you still need to dress up so that you then have that air of confidence, right? I even lost the question. What was the question? I've gone and gone and gone.
In today's workplace, where we're talking about smart casual, show up, just come.
Okay.
How does that then affect?
How does it affect your personal brand?
Yeah.
So I think smart casual is like a trick.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Because when you put smart casual and then somebody shows up like super laid back,
in ragged jeans.
I know, you start judging them, right? You look at this person and be like, okay. But then that other person who you can see still like, you're wearing jeans and a nice shirt, you'd be like, okay, there's a bit of intention over here. This other person, I don't know. So when you guys hear smart casual, there's a bit of a trick somewhere. Just be, don't just show up the way you want to show up. People are watching you. So it does affect your brand to some extent. And I know there's a guy, for example, who cannot not wear like dress pants and a shirt to work, even after he moved to a place where guys are in like jeans and,
really nice.
because it's just, that's where his headspace is, and that's how he wants to present himself.
And it's very interesting because as a HR leader, when I show up at work and I meet that guy, actually kind of look at them differently.
Yeah, because you don't have to, but here you are looking like more professional than you need to, right?
It kind of makes you think like they're more serious than the others, somehow, the way they show up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's very important. And what you're talking about, how you show up even behind the scenes, even if you're not being seen, is very true. So I've worked in tech firms, and that means I have become a jeans and sneakers girl.
Really?
So it gets to a point where even
At
the way
least
you're
do jeans
sitting...
and heels, though.
No, I'm back to jeans and heels now. So it gets even the way you're sitting, the way you're showing up, you feel... You don't feel proper. You don't feel like you're showing up properly.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I work from home, and even as much as I work from home, in the morning I will shower and I will get dressed. So even if I have no like in-person meeting, I will shower and I will get dressed into like my work clothes,
Oh, wow.
so that my mind can get into work mode.
No pajamas and things?
No pajamas.
Okay, now you're making us look really bad.
And I remember when COVID started, a lot of stuff went online, right? So Zoom etiquette became a thing.
Yes.
And so we are trained, and I was doing a lot of online training. So Zoom etiquette was a big conversation. Who would have thought that I would have had to train on that? And then not even just with normal training, I was that person who would say, first for everybody in the group, and not online, maybe you're like 30, 40 people for a particular company. We first ask everybody to turn on their cameras.
Yes.
And then you just see the hesitation. Because they're like, wait, what? Sorry, what? And then the leader in that company, whether it's HR or a department head, is like, yes, Olive, thank you. Preach. Can everybody... In fact, however long this takes, we are not continuing until everyone turns on their cameras and you see people shuffling. Huh? So just someone was probably in front of the TV on the couch. Someone was probably in bed.
I know.
So even internally with our teams, on the first call, when the call starts, you start with your camera on. So that we all see each other, we greet each other, and then if it's a long call, you can put your camera off. But at least we've seen you, and I've seen that you're present, you're awake, you're dressed, you've washed your face, all of those things.
And before we moved from that, there's actually something that happens to your psyche when you get up, dress up, have your cup of coffee. You kind of feel like in the mindset.
You're ready now
take
to
over
work.
the day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so
and then when the day is over, you can go and change into your jammies. You're like, now that part of my work day is done.
Closed.
Now it's time to chill and watch whatever it is I don't know, watch on Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So back to personal branding. What are some common myths about personal branding?
Common myths about people think that personal branding is very superficial. Right? And we did your personal branding consultation, and it's not superficial.
I know. Yeah.
In fact, a lot of clients, after the first session, they're like, okay, wait, Olive, just give me like a month. I need to internalize this.
It's a lot of work.
It is. So people think personal branding is, let's do a photo shoot, get dressed up, look pretty, take my professional pictures, clean up my LinkedIn page. Like that's what personal branding is, but it's really not. That's just one tiny, like an eighth, even maybe like a 16th of the personal branding process. So first, personal branding is a journey, not a destination. And it's really about finding yourself, discovering who you are, what you're about, what you're passionate about. It's a deep dive into yourself. And then once you figure all of that out, you can then now package it appropriately for your market, for your target market. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now we know what it's not. But why do we always, and I did that mistake earlier today, personal image, personal branding? Again, there's always a bit of a confusion of what is what.
Again, because people think that personal branding is what you see, right? They think personal brand, they're like, for example, you have a Coke bottle.
Yes.
That is the brand.
Yeah.
That's also that is a misconception. Is that the word? Yeah. Because the Coke bottle and the logo is not the brand. It's the perception that you have when you think about Coca-Cola. It's a perception that you have when you think about Bolt. It's a perception that you have when you think about Equity Bank, right? The logo and the look and feel, that's the brand identity, but it's not the brand. Same with the person. Your brand is not just how you look. How you look is how you present yourself is your image. Your brand is everything else that's about you, so to speak.
So if you don't take anything else, Image and brand.
Two different things. Very related, but very different at the same time.
Very good. So you and I recently had an event, and we talked about sticky floors, a very interesting space. And I wanted us to see how we connect that with the invisible work trap, where people work so hard, but they're not getting seen or promoted. So maybe we can just talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I think that's one of the main concepts around personal branding, which is what people think is what personal branding is about, is visibility, right? It's said that doing business without advertising is like winking at a girl in the dark.
Say that again. Doing business without advertising
It's like
is like
winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does.
That is so interesting.
Right?
Well, now you say that, I keep telling people the young people that I mentor, and I keep telling them, you have got to be seen. And actually got this from one of my mentors when I was very young, young in my career, and she used to tell me, Miss Mwangi, you cannot be a flower girl. You cannot get into a meeting and keep quiet.
Yes.
You have got to be seen, you have got to be heard. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, and I remember even something that I used to do, and I still do. Well, now I guess because I'm a bit more confident than I was before, is when you go for all these conferences and networking things, and it's a talk, a dinner, whatever it is, and then they ask, do you have any questions? I always make sure I ask a question about whatever it is. Like when I find I'm that person, like, hi, my name is Olive Gachara, I'm an image consultant, or I'm from Kochu Africa, depending on what the audience is. And my question was directed to panelists so and so, just so that people can see that you exist, right? And then you sit back down. And I remember I got a gig because I did that. I happened to be in Kampala for, I think I'd just gone to Kampala. You know, when you're young and you're like, oh, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go to Kampala, let's go and hang. And then when I was there was an event that someone from Nairobi was doing. And I think I bumped into them in the airport, and they're like, come. So the event was at Serena. So anyway, same thing, you know, I stand up and like, hi, my name is Olive Gachara from Nairobi, Kenya. That time I was a stylist. I'm a fashion stylist and I run a modeling agency. And my question was to so-and-so, and I finished. And then halfway, after the event, somebody came, they're like, where's the lady who was saying she runs a modeling agency in Nairobi?
Wow.
And they're like, yes, we're actually looking to launch a product in Nairobi. And we've been looking for a contact. So now that you're here, it'd be fantastic. Can we have, how long are you around? Can you come to the office on Monday before you leave? I think we took a bus because I was young. I moved in my bus and I went for that meeting. And by the fast forward, that's how I ended up launching or helping African women set up in Kenya.
Oh, wow.
Imagine.
That is amazing.
Imagine. Visibility.
That is very, very, very important. And for me, it's an area that I've always struggled with because I have preferences for introvertedness. So I remember very early, I don't know whether you can recall, there's a time we had a coaching conversation many years back. I was like, I don't know how to have small talk. And then something else that then would hold me back, and I know still holds a lot of women back, a lot of people back, not just women, is overthinking. Like before you say something, I'm wondering, it just needs to come out right.
I know.
And so you lose the opportunity.
Yes.
I would find myself in spaces where I want to say something, but I feel like it's just not right. Before I am thinking...
What will people think
by the time I'm doing that,
it?
Somebody else says it.
I know.
And I'm like, how do you stop
and then they cheer them on.
And it's gone.
I know.
And it's gone. So that's a very good point.
Yeah. But so to answer your question, it's important within an organization setting to ensure that you're visible or people see your wins. And this is especially for women, right? And this is a podcast for women. So if you think about it, that dude, and I say that dude, we all know there's always that dude, right? That dude is going to do like the smallest thing.
I know.
But then the way he celebrated, you're looking, you're like, but I've done so much more, right? I know. That's because as women, since we were girls, we've always been taught to make ourselves smaller. You know, girls don't shout, girls don't jump, girls don't sit like that, girls don't make noise, girls don't, you're too loud, girls are not loud. So we've always been taught to shrink ourselves, right? And hopefully the next generation, actually I think the next generation will be a bit more vocal and outspoken. And so as we're growing up, as we get into the workplace, we get into that mentality that we already had, right? And so again, you start overthinking. If I say this, what will people think? If I do this, people will think something else. And also as women, if you're too loud, people think you're bossy or aggressive. If a man is too loud, he's confident, he's
a go-getter.
Empowered. So we need to
Unfortunate though.
So brush all those things off and just be loud, right? And speak your truth. And if you find it hard to make yourself visible, get a cheerleader, not a cheerleader, like not a promoter, there's a word for it. Get someone who can help sing your wins, shout your wins for you.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's actually a
So
good
like
one.
for
If you
example,
can't toot your
if you
own
can't,
horn,
yeah, get someone to toot it for you. So get either your colleague, and usually it's not one of the people that you work with who's a close friend, maybe even a bit more senior than you. You'll be like, oh, have you not seen what Shira has been doing? She did this fantastic thing, right? So then that becomes at least a way to start being more visible.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a good one. Now on that, I think what I would like to add, when you're also being visible, it means that you need to know what you're talking about, because it's not just about.
Even if you don't know what you're talking about, half of these guys don't know what they're talking about either.
Oh come on!
Right?
No, I think that's where then you go wrong. Because I'm thinking, oh Lord,
That's overthinking. Right? That right there is overthinking. Even if you don't know what you're talking about, just be seen.
Just say something.
Just say something. Whatever you say. Sorry?
But something useful?
Useful is preferable, but that will make you start overthinking. Be like, is this, just say something, say anything, as long as you're speaking.
Clearly, I'm making more sessions.
So, in any form of communication, say that in any form of communication, 70% is what you do, 23% is how you look, and only 7% accounts for what you say.
Are you kidding me?
Imagine.
And that explains why you find the loudest people, not necessarily the highest performers or the smartest, get the promotions.
Of course.
They get the jobs. Oh, Lord.
Don't have to be the smartest. Just be, just be seen. But of course, I'm not saying that just, you know what I mean, right?
True.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. And that has kind of covered what I was going to ask. Then how can we use personal branding to be a lever to escape the sticky flow? And that's the self-belief, the limiting self-beliefs, etc. So just be seen. Be heard.
Just be seen, exactly.
Speak up. Don't get into a meeting and be quiet. And I guess something else that we also avoid is going for networking events. And that's where, as a HR person, I can tell you for sure, the good jobs are not advertised. They're whispered, they're sent on DMs.
Yes, that's true. Oh, that's true. That's a nice one.
So if you're not showing up in these places, you'll never know.
People forget you, by the way.
They don't even know you exist, by the way.
They don't even know that you
You'll
exist.
send people CVs and they're like, I'm sending you, I'm looking for a job. That's it. I forget the minute you send it. I want to put my brand there, but then there are those people who just come across like kibelembele, as in you like, they're a bit too much on the extreme. So how does somebody find the balance in putting a brand there without now?
I don't think there's anything like too self-promoting. Again, this is overthinking. I think the most important thing is consistency, right? So if you want to shout and really be out there, make sure it's consistent. Make sure it's something you can sustain, right? So if you're, posting every day, doing stories about what you're doing that day, so make sure you're doing that all the time, consistently, right? If you don't
start,
then you stop.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't have the headspace, then find a pace that you can maintain, right? Because then brand consistency is a big thing. Guys don't start wondering, okay, what happened to this person, right?
Yeah.
So just find a pace that works for you. And I don't think there's anything like being too loud or being too out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So let's talk about positioning the brand. So you have worked on your image, and I'll encourage people to book appointments with you so they can find that space.
Yeah.
And how then do you position your brand? We talked about consistency, but how then professionally? I want to be seen, I want to grow. We have just said that good jobs are not advertised. So how, from a branding consultant aspect, how do we tell our listeners, how do you position yourself to ensure that you're finding the opportunities that are out there coming to you, or they're finding you, or you're finding them?
I think first, the most important thing when it comes to positioning is understanding who your audience is, right? Because the first thing people think when they come for personal branding consultations is, I really don't want to do social media. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I've had that a lot.
Yeah, but then we don't all have to be on social media,
It's true.
right? And there's that public pressure of if you don't have an online presence, then so if your audience is not online,
It's true.
then you don't need to be online.
Yeah.
I mean, have your presence, be there on like the important platforms. If it's LinkedIn, just so LinkedIn is like your online CV, right? So just have your LinkedIn page there with your career progression, etc. But you don't have to be posting every day. You don't have to be looking for stuff to put on Instagram if your audience is not there. If you're, for example, if you're how do I put this? If you're, if like your customers are internal, right? So your visibility needs to be to your internal customers, not to external, not the whole world.
Yes.
So I think understand who your target audience is, and your target audience is people who will help further your career, or who will help further your job. If, for example, you're in sales, who are you selling your products to, right? If you're selling your products to corporate professionals, they need to be seen in those corporate spaces. If you're selling your products to moms, they need to be seen in mom spaces. If you're selling your products to teens, then you need to be seen, maybe again, in mom spaces, right? So understand who your audience is and position yourself to be visible to those people who are going to pay you for your services or buy your company's products. Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about reinventing and refreshing your brand. I think it's something that I've done. You and I have walked a journey. I remember the last time we did this, the consulting, the brand, image and brand consulting was like maybe 10 years ago. And 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
10 years, a lot of things have changed. Even I have grown, even how I'm thinking about life, my perspective, etc. And I kind of feel like sometimes people get stuck in, this is my brand, this is what I'm doing. Is it okay to refresh? Is it okay to reinvent? Is it okay to show up differently?
I think it's important to show up differently and to reinvent, because like you said, you're not the same person as you were 10 years ago. You're not the same person as you were 5 years ago. When someone is creating their brand at 25, the things that they want, their passions, their dreams, their ambitions will change drastically by the time they get to 30, by the time they get to 35. By the time they're at 45, they're looking back at that 25-year-old like, those are the things you wanted to do. So for some people it will be consistent.
Yes.
But for some, it will be drastic changes, right? So it's important to be intentional about being aware of what you want at every particular time of your life. And then based on that thing that you want, you reinvent or you tweak your brand and the things that you do to be able to achieve that particular thing. I don't know if I'm making sense. I feel like I'm speaking very hypothetically.
No. You're making a lot of sense, and I like what you said about being aware. Because if you're not aware, then you will not know.
Yeah, and that's how you end up getting stuck, right? You're like, how did I end up here?
I know.
Like, this is not what I was trying to do, right? So
I know.
And a lot of us sort of just go through the paces of life without any intention.
Yeah.
And then you wake up when you're 40 years old and you're like, where am I? How did I end up here? In fact, oddly enough, a lot of my customers, a lot of my clients tend to be in their 40s. Because I think that's the time when that's the time when you're like, okay, so now we have
ask me.
We have gotten the promotion. We
I
have started the family. The family has probably gone, or you're on family number 2, and whatever it is. You bought the house, you bought the car, but there's something missing, and I don't know what that is. I've ticked all the boxes, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. Why? I've done all the things that I did when I was 20. It's because you have not been intentional and looking inward and make sure that you're also fulfilled and satisfied. You're busy just ticking boxes for society and for other people, right? Yeah.
And that's why I have this podcast. Targeting these midlife humans, as I call ourselves.
I know.
Because it's a space where speaking from my experience, when I hit 38, I started really questioning, who am I? Where am I going? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What does it mean? So I do agree with you. It's something. So we talked about putting yourself out there, how important it is to be seen and be heard. How important is it to talk about your failures publicly?
I think it depends on you as a person and your personality. But what I've sort of learned is people tend to talk about their failures after they've gone through them and after there's a win.
But it's true.
Right?
There's no way I'm going to talk about it when I'm going through it. I don't know how it's going to turn out.
I know, right? But then there are people who talk about their failures while they're failing, right?
Okay, that's
There's
interesting.
people like, oh, this is what I'm going through. Let's spend some time on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm going down the TikTok rabbit hole many an afternoon. At some point I need to delete that app. Anyway, so people who talk about their failures when they're going through what they're going through, but most people tend to talk about their failures after the fact, right? Like, oh, this is what I went through, and this is, look at me now.
Yeah. So
I don't know how important or valuable that is to other people. They're like, okay, so that happened to you and you're doing better now. Okay.
It's true.
You know, if you're going to talk about your failures, I think, again, what's your why, right? So if you're doing it to show people how I've come out of this, then, then that's fine. That's that's it is what it is. But then if you're doing it to help other people, then you really
Yeah.
need to get into the failure. Like, this is how I felt. This is, these are my dark days. People don't talk about their dark days.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh
when they talk
yeah.
about failure, it's like, oh, I went through a period, I was broke, I was struggling.
I
But they don't talk
know.
about that day when you couldn't come out of bed.
I know.
That, like, the darkness of
It's
that failure, right? Otherwise, I think in most cases it's really very sugar-coated.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
whatever it is, whether you want to talk about it or not, just understand your why. Why do you want to tell people about what you want them to do? Yeah.
Okay. It kind of makes sense.
But from a branding point of view, again, how does that add to your brand, right? Do you want to show that you're a tenacious person? Do you want to show that you're able to rise above this and that? Again, so when you're thinking about, so I want to communicate this, how does that add to your brand in the sense of how does that impact how people perceive you, right? Not that they'll perceive you badly because you failed, but they'll perceive you in a certain way as because of how you came out of it. So what do you want that to be? Again, be intentional and really think through it before you go and start talking about your life story everywhere.
I agree with you. And I kind of feel like it's really nice when people are clear on their why, when they share their failure stories, because it helps humanize people.
Yeah.
And bring authentic conversations. People start having authentic conversations because, yes, we are very good, and especially now on social media, about bringing all the nice, rosy things.
I know.
But people learn through the failures.
Yes, that's true.
We want to know, how did you go through that and how did you become who you are today? So I'm hoping we can have more of those conversations. Personal websites. wanjiromwangi.com. How important.
That's a good plug. It's an actual website, guys. Please go to it.
Let's go.
It's very nice. Yes.
So how important is it? Is it a thing?
It depends on your career.
Yeah.
So for like Wanjiro Mwangi, it's important because of your life coaching arm, right?
Yeah.
But if you have an 8 to 5 and you don't really need who's your target audience, right? If you don't need the general public to see you or know who you are, because it doesn't add value to you as a person, it doesn't add to your bank account, then there's no point. But then if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you're a leader in whatever it is, if you run your own biashara, if you're at a point where you need the public to know and acknowledge your brand, then it becomes important. So again, back when it comes to personal branding, who's your target audience? Who do you need to see you? Then that will determine whether or not you need to have a website.
I think what you keep saying, who, why, I think it's very important because I feel a lot of pressure. I see a lot of pressure on LinkedIn, where you see people have been told you have to be visible. So they're putting things out every day.
Yeah.
And some of them they're really not relevant stuff.
I know,
so
right?
I feel like it's very good for you to be very clear on your why and the what. You might end up losing people when you want them to follow you.
Yes. I think the most important thing, we have a lot of pressure on social to be posting and to do all these things. Now remember, on a platform like LinkedIn, actually on all platforms, the most important thing is to post relevant content.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to research about you, so like for example, if someone goes to my LinkedIn page today or my IG, they'll see the work that I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
They will not be checking how often does she post, right? They'll probably check how recent was your last post, like if she's still alive, or she hasn't posted since 2023, like what's going on.
Proof of life. I see
know,
a lot
right?
of that.
Proof of life, exactly.
Yes.
So we need to remove ourselves from that pressure of being active all the time. And remember that it takes time. Like actual physical time. It distracts you. You could be using that time to do other things, to read a book, to develop your own personal brand, to figure out your why, to understand your target audience. So by the time you're going out to post, again, it's relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. 3 takeaways that you'll tell our listeners that when it comes to image and branding.
I'm going to throw that question back to you.
Oh.
With everything that I've said, what are your 3 takeaways?
I think it's very important for you to know your why. Why are you doing it? What is your intention? And your what? Your target audience. Who is your target audience? How do you want to be? What do you want to communicate to them? So that's very, very important.
Yeah.
And the difference between image and branding. Image is how you show up, like my image. And branding is the perception.
Yes, how people perceive you. Your brand is who you are.
Yeah, your brand is who you are. So that's very, very important. Olive, how can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on my website, www.iwo.co.ke. So I say that again, iwo.co.ke. and of course Olive Gachara on all platforms, which is again important. Please make your your social media handles consistent. So yeah, Olive Gachara on all social media platforms.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. This was a very useful conversation. I feel like we have just scratched the surface.
Yes.
Welcome our listeners to shoot in questions. If you have any questions about image and branding, please share them with us and we'll be able to get them to Olive or get in touch with Olive directly. Thank you very much for listening. We look forward to having you on the next episode.